How's it going, everyone? It's me, Vivi, and welcome back to another Ratchet Clank related video. So this time, let me bring up Insomniac Games. Recently, it feels like they've been a lot more interactive with the community. Now, they've always been active on Twitter, and that's one thing I love about Insomniac Games. But these days, they've been doing a lot of this live streaming thing. Actually, they started this since they rebranded their company. Now, a couple of days ago, they live streamed Ratchet Clank Future: A Crack in Time, where community director James Stevenson, Josh Noble, principal artist, and Joel Goodsell, lead designer, discussed about A Crack in Time a bit. The gameplay, the puzzles, the difficulty, and pretty much stuff like that. And what's interesting about this livestream is that some fan questions were brought up. And these questions, which were answered during the livestream, they're questions which have been brought up by the community a lot of times. And the biggest question right now, out of all of them, is the next Ratchet & Clank game. Whether or not Insomniac Games will make another Ratchet & Clank game. Now, obviously, they have the passion for it, so of course, they're gonna make another one. But Stevenson explained that the whole team right now is busy on Spider-Man PS4, Marvel's Spider-Man. No one on the team has started planning the next Ratchet & Clank game, so the next one, it's going to be in a while. And am I surprised? Absolutely not. I knew that the team was busy on Spider-Man. After the game is released, maybe they'll start planning the next Ratchet & Clank game, but I'm hoping they do it slowly. Now, are they able to come up with ideas? All I'm gonna say, guys, is don't worry. And if you remember, before the movie, the Ratchet & Clank movie, was released in France, James Stevenson had explained that they would come up with ideas, whether it was post Into the Nexus or a continuation to the PS4 reimagining. So right now, guys, no, they are not working on another Ratchet & Clank game. Although nothing is set in stone right now, don't worry, they'll get to it, eventually, just after Spider-Man PS4. Oh, sorry, Marvel Spider-Man. So, with that out of the way, let's discuss the livestream a bit. For those of you who haven't seen that video, it's over, well, around an hour and 15 minutes. And if you haven't seen it, well, what I'm gonna do right now is go over the most interesting points which were brought up. So think of this video as a summary, let's say. So during the gameplay, during the livestream, Stevenson said that the Future Saga was its own thing. So what does this mean for the future of the series? Does that mean they are going to continue with the reimagining, or will they continue the Future Saga? And why am I saying this? Because maybe some of you might worry that since Stevenson said that the Future Saga is its own thing, that they might put it aside. I think Stevenson was implying that the Future Saga was its own thing because of the story, how it went over the lore of our main protagonist, the Lobaxes and everything. But the Future Saga is part of the main timeline, don't forget that. So just because he said it's a standalone thing, doesn't mean they won't continue with the story of the Future Saga. And I do feel like there's still this one aspect to explore. There is material to work with. Later on, the whole open world galaxy was discussed, how you move from moon to moon, planet to planet. The initial idea of that was to make it full 3D. Full 3D as in move freely completely. It was explained that later on they went with the idea of like a 2D plane to make it less confusing and less hard. Because before, the team felt like players would get lost by just turning in circles completely. They also went on and discussed the Constructo mods. If you remember, a set of weapons had these upgrades which you could find. And it was explained during the livestream that if you didn't use these mods, strategically, the game would get kinda hard. Now for hardcore fans, that probably doesn't mean anything to you. But for newcomers, if you don't use the mods, it might get a bit difficult. And talking about difficulty, Tools of Destruction, this was brought up as well. They said that the ending, it felt a bit too easy because crates would get easily respawned and ammo as well. And what they said about this is that apparently they ran out of time. So they simply decided to introduce hard mode in Quest for Booty and A Crack in Time. And talking about hard, a lead designer wanted to make A Crack in Time even more difficult. He felt that the game, for hardcore fans especially, third of the game, that's where it got difficult. But before that, he felt like even if the person were to play on hard, it'd be too easy. Now of course this does not apply to newcomers. Now I'm not too sure here, I don't know if he was referring to hard or hardcore, which is unlocked after finishing the game. But if he was referring to hardcore, then I'm wondering what could exceed hardcore, and I'm wondering what they would call it. What do you guys think? Next thing I want to bring up, Stevenson, he talked about act tuning. He compared the Future Saga to the PS2 games. In the original, apparently, I don't remember experiencing this, well maybe, he said that dying over and over in those old games, the game would get easier, but but as for someone who would speedrun the game, the difficulty would ramp up on you. For the future saga, they made sure that there wouldn't be any sort of penalty for the speedrunners. If you keep dying over and over, the difficulty will just keep on remaining the same. You have to think strategically. As for speedrunners, the difficulty will also remain the same. So you know they were thinking about fairness. So what do you guys think of this? Did you know about this? Did you ever experience this with the PS2 games? I'm really curious. Later on, another question which has been brought up multiple times was answered. Porting the Future Saga to the PS4, aka an HD remaster. At the end of the day, it's up to Sony. The team explained that it's not as easy as it seems, that it's quite hard. But seeing as how other developers have done it with their PS3 games, it's doable. Plus they said they usually don't handle HD ports, like I've said multiple times. It's usually up to like a third-party developer. All they do is they give their blessing and they're happy at the end. Now here's something I had absolutely no idea about. You thought 10 months was short for the PS4 game? For the development phase? Well, A Crack in Time was close to that, apparently. Stevenson believes that they did not spend more than 13 months making A Crack in Time. So if they could make a fantastic game, such as A Crack in Time, imagine what the next Ratchet & Clank game would look like if they spend 2 years on it. Next, another fan question was brought up. Why did they remove Raritanium from A Crack in Time? The way they explained it is they apparently wanted to find the right balance, which they did with Into the Nexus and the PS4 game. Raritanium was part of those two games. The way I see it is they just wanted to try something different. Balance schmalance, they just wanted to try this new mod system. But Raritanium, for me, the absence of it, I didn't mind it at all. And why? Because I feel like it makes the game a bit too easy. The PS4 game, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I was rusty, and I found it challenging at first, but once I started using Raritanium, it just got too easy. If they do bring back Raritanium, I don't mind, but I'm hoping they find a better balance. Nerf it. And if, let's say, they decide to bring back the Bouncer, which was overpowered in the PS4 game, then I hope they make sure that by upgrading the weapon with Raritanium, it doesn't get too OP. Angela Cross, another question. They did admit that she was mentioned over the radio in A Crack in Time, that she's a Lombax. Now you wanna laugh? Stevenson said, well, that news report could be fake. I was just sitting there and I was like, you can't do that. Are you serious? I understand you guys didn't really have ideas for Angela Cross, nor did you think of implementing the lore of the Lombaxes when you did present Angela Cross, but to just say that it might be fake as a cover-up, just to make fans shut up about the possible return of Angela Cross, I don't understand the problem. It's theorized that she escaped with Max Apogee to the Lombax dimension. They can easily bring her back and make an absolute fantastic story with it. I don't understand why they're having so much difficulty. I mean, that's the way it seemed when Stevenson said that the news report could be fake, that she might not be a Lombax. In short, Stevenson said, sorry. Insomniac Games is sorry about the whole situation with Angela Cross. Saying sorry to me feels like they're just lost. They don't know what to do with the character. But anyways, a last thing before I move on to something different. A Crack in Time apparently had fan submissions for weapons. The weapon, called Spiral of Death, was fan-made, and I discovered this now. According to Sony, back in 2009, Ratchet & Clank A Crack in Time had the most amount of fan submissions ever. The first Sony IP to have so many submissions. It's crazy. And guys, don't look at me. I had no idea, okay? Back in 2009, I didn't even make videos and I didn't really do research. I was just waiting for games to get released, okay? And if you guys feel like I bring up old news sometimes, well, it's just due to the fact that I did not make videos in the past. Anyways, with that being said, I want to go over the last thing for this video. So, for the 15th anniversary of the Ratchet & Clank series, there's going to be a fan event at LA, California, at this place called Nucleus, where most of the time they hold these gallery exhibits. This time they decided to include Insomniac Games and Ratchet & Clank, which is awesome. So, I made a video in the past, right, going over what Stevenson said over on Discord. He had said that we should not expect anything, collection-wise or HD ports, anything like that for the 15th anniversary. And I think this is what he was referring to. He said if you're in LA, there's something special happening, but he also said that if you're not in LA, it's still going to be special. So I don't know if they're planning some sort of live stream at the same time, but that'd be great because I don't live in LA. I would love to go. And for those of you who are expecting a collection or an HD port, emulation, or anything like that, well, when it comes to anniversary specials, they usually announce it months before. The case with Full Frontal Assault and the Ratchet & Clank collection for the PS3. Those were announced like 3 to 4 months ago. But getting a collection after the anniversary, it's possible, right? So let's go over the details of this exhibit. Ratchet & Clank 15th Anniversary Celebration. The opening reception will be taking place on November 11th between 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. And November 11th is the day of the anniversary. Now right above that it says November 11th to November 26th. I'm assuming the art and everything will be on display between those dates. But as for the artists, people from Insomniac Games being present, they will only be present during the reception, November 11th, if I'm not mistaken. Ted Price will be there, founder and CEO. John Fiorito, Chief Operating Officer, was an artist and art director on Ratchet & Clank. Brian Algier, Usability Director, Creative Director on the Ratchet & Clank future games. And you have a bunch of other details on top. Opening reception features. Meet the creatives behind the game. Free door prizes. New exclusive Ratchet & Clank merchandise to be released. Tribute art created by actual Ratchet & Clank production artists. On display and available for purchase will be select pieces of Ratchet & Clank concept art. Free themed refreshments. Themed refreshments, it sounds pretty cool. In celebration of Ratchet & Clank's 15th anniversary, Nucleus, Cyclops, and Insomniac Games have come together to create a unique fan event and tribute exhibition. So there you go, folks. In the comment section below, tell me, do you live in LA? Are you planning on going to this event? I live in Montreal, so I'm debating right now whether I should go or not. But I don't know. Exhibition, is it worth it? What am I even saying? I would love to go. But it is what it is, I don't know. Time will tell. But yeah, with that being said, this is it for the video. So as usual, do your thing. If you have any sort of questions, leave everything in the comment section below. And yep, I've been Vivi, and thank you so much for watching.